The true cause of Queen Elizabeth's death remains one of history's most enduring mysteries. In her final days, she refused to allow a post-mortem examination, leaving behind a legacy of speculation, whispers, and unanswered questions. Though the exact reason for her passing was never confirmed, there are some intriguing clues that may hint at what ultimately claimed the Virgin Queen's life. We all know the iconic image of Queen Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, who ruled England from 1558 until her death in 1603. In paintings, she appears almost ethereal, a slight figure engulfed in layers of opulent gowns, with a strikingly pale face framed by towering white ruffs. Elizabeth I remains one of England's most famous monarchs. She was the daughter of the infamous King Henry VIII and his brilliant but doomed second wife, Anne Boleyn, executed when Elizabeth was just 2 years old. Elizabeth rose to power in 1558 after the death of her half-sister, Queen Mary. With her ascension, the last surviving legitimate child of Henry VIII took the throne. The earlier deaths of her younger half-brother Edward VI in 1553 and Mary I just 5 years later cleared the path for her reign. What followed was a remarkable 45-year rule that transformed England into a formidable global power. Elizabeth became not just a queen, but a legend. But the final years of her life were marked by sorrow. As age crept in, her health declined. Trusted friends passed away. The beauty that once captivated courtiers began to fade. And with all this came waves of sadness, what we might now call depression. The queen who once dazzled Europe was slowly retreating into the shadows. Let's begin by exploring Queen Elizabeth's deep fascination with beauty and her relentless pursuit of eternal youth. Despite being courted by some of Europe's most powerful and eligible nobles, including Francis, Duke of Anjou and Alençon, brother to King Henry III of France, Elizabeth never married. Yet she was determined to present herself as youthful, vibrant and alluring, no matter her age. To maintain this image, Elizabeth increasingly turned to makeup as the years went by. And not just a touch of rouge or powder, Elizabeth was known for applying thick, ghostly layers of cosmetics to achieve the pale, flawless look that was so revered by the English elite of the time. In the 16th century, beauty standards demanded skin as white as porcelain, smooth, unblemished, and untouched by sun or age. Pale skin was associated with nobility and purity, and Elizabeth leaned into this ideal with fervor. But her devotion to makeup wasn't purely about fashion. After surviving a severe bout of smallpox in 1562, Elizabeth was left with noticeable facial scarring. Her legendary white face paint wasn't just about beauty. It was a mask, a way to conceal the damage and maintain her regal image. Ironically, the very makeup she relied on may have done more harm than good. Some of the ingredients were toxic, and in time, the paint she wore so faithfully may have contributed to her declining health. On October 10, 1562, Queen Elizabeth I was struck down with a terrifying illness, smallpox. At the time, smallpox was one of the deadliest diseases of the 16th century, claiming the lives of roughly 30% of those who caught it. There was no cure, no vaccine, and very little understanding of how to treat it. Elizabeth was lucky to survive, but the disease left its mark. Though her life was spared, her face was not. The once smooth complexion of the Queen was now marred by visible scars, scattered across her skin like permanent reminders of her near death. As a monarch, appearance wasn't just vanity, it was power. Royals were expected to embody perfection, and Elizabeth's blemished face made her vulnerable to judgment, gossip, and criticism from all corners of her court. Desperate to hide the damage and maintain the image of a flawless, ageless queen, Elizabeth turned to a popular cosmetic of the time, Venetian ceruse. This deadly mixture of white lead and vinegar was applied thickly to the face and neck, creating a porcelain-like finish that masked every imperfection. But there was a dark cost. Modern science tells us what Elizabeth never knew. Lead is a highly toxic metal. Prolonged use can cause skin deterioration, hair loss, muscle weakness, anemia, and even death from lead poisoning. Day by day, as she painted on her signature pale mask, Elizabeth may have been slowly poisoning herself. The very substance that helped her hide her scars may have also hastened her decline. What's truly frightening is that lead poisoning doesn't always show symptoms right away. The damage can be silent, building slowly over time. The symptoms often appear only after the levels in the blood have reached a critical point. So while Queen Elizabeth may have seemed composed and in control, the poison was already at work beneath the surface. She was famously meticulous about her appearance, spending hours preparing herself each day. But as her skin began to deteriorate from years of heavy cosmetics, she simply applied more and more. By the end of her life, it's said that her signature white makeup reached nearly an inch thick. To make matters worse, Elizabeth reportedly had her makeup applied just once a week and left it on continuously. That meant the lead-laced ceruse had days to seep into her skin, absorbing deeper with every passing hour. And lead wasn't the only poison touching her royal face. When she finally did remove her makeup, it's believed she used a mixture of crushed eggshells, alum, and, perhaps most alarmingly, mercury. Today we know that mercury is incredibly toxic. Its effects include memory loss, mood swings, irritability, and depression, symptoms that Elizabeth reportedly suffered from during her final years. Some historians believe that the mercury not only impacted her mind, but also physically corroded her flesh. In her quest to remain eternally youthful, the Queen may have unknowingly signed a slow and agonizing death sentence, layer by layer, week after week. Elizabeth's obsession with beauty didn't stop at white skin. She also craved bold, blood-red lips. To achieve this, she turned to lipstick made from cinnabar, a dangerously toxic mineral that contains mercury. In the Tudor and Elizabethan eras, many believed lipstick wasn't just cosmetic, it was magical. Some even thought it could ward off death itself. So whenever Elizabeth felt unwell or simply wished to strengthen her image, she applied more and more. By the time she died, it was said her lips were coated in a staggering ½ an inch of the crimson pigment. But the rituals of beauty were far from safe. Over the years, these treatments caused premature wrinkles, accelerated aging, and a devastating decline in her overall health. But it wasn't just her body that was breaking down. Her spirit was too. In her final years, Elizabeth was plagued by sorrow. The deaths of her closest companions, including her loyal lady-in-waiting Catherine Howard and her once-beloved favourite Robert Devereux, the Earl of Essex, struck her deeply. After Essex's execution, which she herself had ordered, the weight of guilt was unbearable. By March, her health had faltered. She fell into a profound and unshakable melancholy, spending hours sitting in silence, motionless on cushions. Witnesses said she wept often and expressed deep regret over the death of Mary, Queen of Scots. According to Sir Robert Carey, Elizabeth insisted she had never truly given her consent to the execution, shedding many tears in her final days. She refused to rest. Convinced that lying down would mean death, she remained standing, sometimes for as long as 15 hours, while her attendants desperately surrounded her with pillows to keep her from falling. But eventually, her strength gave way. The Queen collapsed, and the long reign of England's Virgin Queen came to its end. On March 24, 1603, Queen Elizabeth I took her final breath. The exact cause of her death remains uncertain. Some historians point to pneumonia, others suggest cancer. But there's little doubt that the decades-long use of toxic cosmetics loaded with lead, mercury, and other harmful substances played a significant role in her declining health. In her final days, strange and unsettling details emerged. Her lady-in-waiting, Elizabeth Southwell, reported that the Queen was tormented by visions, haunted by the image of her own frail body. She claimed that a playing card, pierced through the head with a nail, was discovered on the Queen's chair, a dark and mysterious omen. After Elizabeth's death, Southwell made an even more chilling claim that the Queen's corpse, sealed in a lead coffin, became so bloated with noxious vapors it exploded. But Southwell's accounts are often taken with a grain of salt. After the Queen's death, she converted to Catholicism, a religion Elizabeth had persecuted, raising questions about the motives behind her story. And yet, there was one final tragic twist. Just days before her death, Elizabeth's doctors urged her to undergo a painful procedure. For 44 years, she had never removed her coronation ring, a powerful symbol of her eternal marriage to England. But over time, the ring had embedded itself deeply into her skin, cutting into her flesh. The doctors insisted it needed to be surgically removed, but before the operation could be done, Elizabeth passed away. Today, with modern science, we understand the dangers of the very substances she once trusted to preserve her beauty. But in Elizabeth's time, knowledge was limited, and the price she paid for her appearance may have been her life. Still, Queen Elizabeth I left behind more than a legacy of pain and poison. She gave England an era of relative peace, power, and cultural flourishing. Her 45-year reign stands among the greatest in history. May she rest in peace, for though her body was broken, her legend remains unshakable.